Hi friends, this is Sally on Camp Creek. I haven't made a video in a long time, but I'm going to make one today. This is maybe my 6th attempt to start. Anyway, I've got my cell phone propped up on my paint can in my kitchen, so we're going to see if we can make this work. I really love the crafting community on YouTube. I have for years and years, and I have always wanted to be part of it. I've always wanted to make videos so that I could just interact with other crafters. And I made some a couple years ago, and then life got insane and crazy and nuts and all of the above. And I didn't make any more, but I always wanted to. And I taught myself into it, and I taught myself out of it. I don't really like to look at my face, so it's kind of hard. You're like here, you have to like kind of look at yourself. It's not what I like to do, but it's a different level of interacting with other crafters that I crave. Okay, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do it again, and this time when people leave me weird comments, I'm just not gonna read them. I don't mind weird comments. I really don't, but sometimes when you're hyper when you worry about stuff, and I sometimes get into that where I do, then you think if someone says something and you think, oh, did I really look that silly? Or did I really scratch my nose? Oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed. But I decided I'm 61. I'm tired of worrying about it. So I'm not worrying about it anymore. Okay. I just want to interact with that community on that level. I listen to lots of people, and when I have time, as I go about the farm and doing my stuff, I'll put my cell phone in my pocket and I'll listen to all kinds of people. Yarn Joy, or Llama Mama Kayla. I've followed her for a long time. I just love her. She makes me want to try harder. I don't know. She's got so much tenacity, and we want to say, oh, she's so strong, but I understand that when you go through stuff, you don't really have a choice but to get through it. And sometimes it's unfair to say they're so strong, because that kind of belittles their struggle somewhat. I don't know. I've just found that in myself, but I just admire her spirit and her sweetness. Anyway, so I like to listen to people, right? And really gain a lot of crafting knowledge and insight from them. And I want to do that. So I have no grandchild here today, which is sad and good also, because it gives me time to do this during the day. And I've been going to do it, so I'm going to do it. First of all, I have a scripture I want to read. I've been meditating on the scripture. It just came to mind, and all morning I have been thinking about it, and it's Psalms 139:13. Before I read that, I want to read a few verses above. This is a Psalm of David. This is the ESV translation. And this is such a good psalm. It's that one that starts out, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar." It's beautiful. But this specific verse, 13, is what came to mind this morning. And it's, "For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb." God is a knitter. Who knew, right? There's several references to knitting, and we playing around there because it may not be referring to this. It may be referring to the how we're put together as a knitted. Knitting is put together one stitch on the other, and that's how we are. Our bodies are made. Everything works together, just like knitting stitches. All of it works together to make a garment. My hair works with my scalp, works with my skin, works with, all of the things. But hey, if you're a knitter, you like that verse. But I want to read this up here. This is so good. This whole chapter is amazing, but I love this. Verse 11. "If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night." If I say that, remember this. Verse 12. "Even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you." And then it says, for you formed me in my inward parts. You know, God formed us in the darkness of our mother's womb because he was there. There was not darkness. That's amazing. Anyway, encouraging word for the day. God knows you. He formed you. He took notes. He kept notes. It goes on to say that he put it all in his book. I should read that. It goes on to say further down that, listen to this. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. For your eyes, no, let me go back. Intricately woven in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. If I would count them, they are not. Or if I would count them, they are more than the sand. I awake and I'm still with you. He goes on. Anyway, he wrote it down in a book. That brings me to this point. I have felt like for a long time, and one time I did this when I did sock knitting, to keep notes in a book because you forget from, not God doesn't, mind you, but we forget from sock to sock, yarn to yarn, moment to moment, exactly what we did before. And if you write it down, which is really hard for me to do, it helps so much. So, meanwhile, back at camp, there's my beautiful, isn't that a pretty cup? It's got a top too. This is such a pretty cup. I love this cup. This is probably my favorite one. I've got a yellow one in the same art design line, but it's yellow over there. But I chipped it, so I keep double pointed needles in it. You just can't hardly beat good old Lipton's General Cheap Tea. So in the last 2 years since I made a video, I've knitted and crocheted and sewed and embroidered a bunch of stuff. Not as much as I'd like to, but a lot of stuff. And so I won't even try to cover the things that I have made. But what I'm working on now is this sweater. I'm going to talk about this sweater. I have a sock and I have a crochet practice project. Okay, starting with this sweater. This is Tin Can Knit Sweater Harvest Sweater. This is the free pattern. It's been out there for a long time. And it's not a difficult sweater. In fact, I would say it's a good sweater if you're learning to make garments, because I feel like it's written in a way that if you do what they say and you trust the pattern, you will come out with with a lot of increased knowledge in knitting, plus the practical understanding of the steps and how that works to make a garment that fits your body. Does that make sense? Anyway, it's a good pattern. And I've made this before. Years ago, when my nephew had his first baby, they wanted a baby sweater, and I usually crocheted the baby sweater. And I had knit some, but just not with a pattern, just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces sewn together. Call it a sweater. Put a pretty button on it. But they wanted a knitted sweater, and they had a particular kind of color of yarn. They wanted a cream. And we were going to Colorado camping, and I found this pattern, and I had somebody, I don't think they printed it out for me. I think I used my phone. It was when I first got a cell phone that had like the internet on it, and I think I just kept having to go back, which is probably why I made so many mistakes and had to do so much frogging on that trip. Because, on your phone, you get a little bit of the pattern at a time, and you're trying to make it bigger so that you can see it and all of that. But anyway, I got the sweater done, and it was real cute. The sleeves are a little bit long. I don't know what I did there. They folded them up, so it was fine. And then I had enough yarn left. I made another one, I think, for somebody that was itty bitty. So from then I wanted to make an adult size. And so a few years passed, and I still had it in my mind that I wanted to do that. And I was at Hobby Lobby, and they had this yarn on sale for $1.24. That's how long ago it was. Now, that little girl is in kindergarten, I think, this year. So, how old is she? 5? So, I've had this at least 5 years, I think. 6. Anyway, it's been a while. I got it before my husband passed away. I know that because it was after I had made that baby sweater for my sweet niece. Nonetheless, it was on sale. It had been $4.99, and it's a wool blend. It's 20% wool, 80% acrylic, and it's 99 grams, which I think is kind of funny. It recommends a US 8 for knitting, which is a 5mm, and a 10 crochet hook. And I have a ton of this because it was cheap. I bought a whole bunch of it. It's kind of probably about the last time I did a big yarn haul at a Hobby Lobby yarn sale. Their sales are different now than they used to be, and so I haven't done that in a while. So I started this sweater, and I had it about 4 inches under the arm, and it was just so huge, and it was so big. And so a lot was going on at the time. I had sick family, and so I put it in a tub and I put it in the attic. And then just recently, I had to move from my little shack house, my shed house, into a trailer because I had a water leak. And so I had to get all that stuff down from the attic, and I got this down. I thought I'm going to finish it. I pulled it out, and I started frogging that huge Haas Cartwright size. It was way too big. And I got my pattern, and this time I did what you're supposed to do. I got the pattern. I had my daughter-in-law printed off, and I got my pencil, and I started making notes on it. First thing I did was I read the entire pattern twice. I just read it, and I read it again because I had kids in the house, and I was afraid that maybe I'd miss something. That's a good thing to do because you might get to a place in the pattern where it tells you to do step XYZ, and you do it, and your count's off, and you rip it off, and you do it, and your count's off, and you're trying to figure out why on earth your count is off. And then you read further down, and it says, but before you do XYZ, do this particular step. And actually, that's happened to me in patterns before. And I always tell myself, read, and then I don't do it. So this time I read the pattern entirely, and I made some notes on the side of things I wanted to not overlook, I wanted to pay attention to when I got to that step. I figured out what size that I needed this time, and I circled it. First thing, all through the pattern, double checked it, made sure it was the 6th size from the end, because there's like 20 sizes, And I even wrote that on the side. 6th size from the last size or something, just so that I would have that to go by so I could double check now and then. And I got my stitch markers out, and I decided I'm going to mark it up like crazy. I'm not going to assume that I will remember. And I started. And actually, I did some things this time that were mistakes the last time that I just tried to figure out and move on from. This time I decided when I make a mistake, I'm going to rip it out. I'm going to rip it out. I don't care how many times I have to because I want to follow the pattern. So start with the collar, and you start here, and you make this band. You go down, you slip, or you slip and purl. I can't remember. Like you just purl this edge. I think that's what you do. And that gives you a nice seam inside and outside, so that when you reach the point, I think it's here where the raglans start, you go back and you pick up those stitches, and then you start your raglan increases. I've taken those markers out. I also will take over to the side, and I will make a mark like it says, do this repeat for my size, do it 10 times. I'll put 1, 2, 3, 4 through 10. And then every time I do a row, I will stop and make a mark so that I know that I am on the 3rd row, which should be the purl side of the 5th repeat of those 4 stitches, if that makes sense. And then I take notes up and down the paper, just like it says in Psalms. I make notes. I put it in the book so that I can see what I'm doing. Right now, I've finished with my stitch count. I've got a little pulled spot there. That's not good. I finished these 6 increases down here. I had increases up here. I already took those stitch markers out. I don't know if that's good or not. These are some Hobby Lobby little stitch markers, actual markers. I think these may be called, they're more of a, for counting your stitches. I don't know. There's a difference in the ones that come off and ones that come on have a different name. So this is that. And I am counting my stitches to check my stitch count, which I think it will be bigger than my size because I did make a mistake in it. But I don't care because it's on the lower part, and in my opinion, I probably need it bigger. That could be what makes me always have to frog everything, because everything I make is too big. So I believe this yarn is in the colorway Biscuit. It's not extremely soft, but you know, if I get it done and I really like it, I'm going to buy me some really nice yarn, I think in a real bright red or a real happy color, and make it again. That's my sweater. Okay, this is my sock. Actually, I think my daughter-in-law left this here. I love my girl. Anyway, and the kids brought a toy in it, and I think I adopted it. It's I think a 31 bag or something. Anyway, it's kind of it was probably a diaper bag that, you know, to go in the diaper bag to hold a diaper. Anyhow, we're beyond that. So here's my latest sock, and I like to knit socks in lots of ways. I like double pointed needles. I like this in the round style. These are some Knit Picks. I think these are a 1.5. They do catch a little bit. I don't like that. I bought a bunch of these on sale when I bought a bunch of this on sale. And I do like this method of knitting them. However, I don't always like these catchy pieces. And someday I may buy like a ChiaoGoo or I don't know, a different company, see if I can get less of a issue with that. This is some Knit Picks. I believe it's Kettle Dyed or Hawthorne. I don't know, because I bought this on sale years ago. I bought, like, I had some birthday money maybe, and I ended up, I spent $150 on sock yarn. I had a whole china cabinet. I have a little narrow corner china cabinet. It's not very big, but it was cram-packed full of this stuff from top to bottom. I still have it in the bedroom, but it's not quite as full. When I moved over here, now I've made a lot of socks and shawls out of this. I'm down to the colors that I didn't like as much. They were bonus packs, bargain packs that I bought. And when I moved it, my son was like, that's a lot of sock yarn. And I thought, you have no idea. It's not anymore. So this is, I think it's 80-20. I'm not sure. I don't have the ball band. I don't know the color name because, like I said, it's really old. But I love the pink and gold in that. I thought at the time I might do a gold heel, that I actually might do instead of a vanilla sock with a just a reinforced heel gusset type, I might try a sock afterthought heel, which I have never done because I am afraid of cutting my knitting. I'm afraid of it. That's that. The other thing I'm working on is, this is a practice thing. I have another great niece coming, or nephew, actually it's a nephew. And this is crocheted, and this is just that Barnett blanket yarn. Yarn Inspirations, I think in crimson. Yeah. And you know, it's made out of polyester. But this was what she wanted. She picked out this yarn. And like I said, normally I don't like to do bulky yarns, but this will make a soft blanket you can lay on the floor for a baby. I bought this yarn. This is not the yarn I'm using. The yarn I'm using, the colors, I had to get them at Michael's. And my daughter, who lives in Oklahoma City, picked them up. Well, she doesn't live in Oklahoma City, but she traverses Oklahoma City. She picked them up for me. And so I don't have them for another couple of weeks. But I know when you're using bulky yarn and you're putting blocks together, sometimes that's not, it's hard. I love granny squares, but the hardest thing to me about a granny square is getting the pieces put together so that they look neat and they look, I know my daughter says it's supposed to look sloppy. It's homemade, and that makes it more charming. No, I won't want it to look like that. I want it to look like my mom made it, which would be neat. Anyway, so I thought I'm going to buy a couple skeins of this. Number one, I want to see how far it goes in granny squares. Number two, I want to experiment on different ways to put it together. Last night, I tried crocheting it together. This is literally just looped. This is literally just, you can kind of see it here, maybe. It's just whip stitched. And of all the ways I tried, that was the neatest looking. My colors she wants are like cream and sage green and kind of a blue from that family. And I think I have a charcoal and a tan. And so I'm going to make the blocks. I think I'm going to make them about 6 inches. And then I'm going to put the border of cream so that the cream, I can stitch them together with the cream and they don't show. That's my plan. And then make the border out of that. So this is one ball. This isn't very big, although a baby blanket doesn't have to be very big. But this is a $10 right here worth of Walmart yarn. And the yarn that I got in the right colors cost more than that. So this is not a cheap blanket by any stretch of the imagination. And I don't necessarily like the way it looks. I will when I get it together. Like I said, this was practice because it's a special baby. And I don't want to wear the yarn out, ripping it out. And this is another issue. Sometimes with granny squares, you get these pieces that are not. Now that will be solved because all of my granny squares will be the same. I made 2 or 3 in this one. I like the looks of this one that has because of this yarn, it has the solid 2 or 3 rows. And I may do that so that they're all the same. So I may do the center flower, the outside, and then 3 rows of single stitch. And then put it together with a whip stitch. I don't know. We just have to see. But that's what that is. So those are all the things I'm working on that I had to share. You like my t-shirt? Look at this. I don't know if you can see it. There's so much going on in this t-shirt. I don't know. I hope it's not like a subliminal message or anything. I know it's a llama, and he's got roller skates on, and he's on a yellow brick road, and there's a corgi who's dressed like, she doesn't have a crown, but she's got the pearls, very queen-esque. I don't know. Thrift store. I had a corgi for a short time. It loved cattle chasing them, so it went to live where there were none. This is my thing I've been working on lately. This is my sea monkey aquarium. You cannot see it. You cannot see the sea monkeys, but I can see them, which is amazing because I don't have super good vision. They're so cute. Thank you, Isaac, for the sea monkeys. Anyway, that's all the crafting stuff I have today to share. But let me leave you with this thought. It's spring. It's time to plant flowers. And look at the grass grow. And there's a lot of struggles and troubles in the world right now, as always. But don't lose heart. Don't be discouraged. Keep in mind that things come to pass. And most of the time, all of the time, my fears are based in the fact that I'm trying to retain control instead of giving it to my Heavenly Father, who is really in control anyway. And when I struggle with worry and anxiety and fear, which happens in life, things change, times change in your life, and you have to kind of reevaluate and figure out where you're at in all of it. And sometimes what comes along with that, maybe what motivates you to come to the place where you really soul search that out, is a sense of fear because you feel like maybe you're not in control. Well, the truth of the matter is you're not in control anyway. But a loving God is in control. One who saw you and knit you together, was active in who you are and the creating of you, saw you, knit you together, even in your mother's womb, even in the dark, and he was there. And so there is no darkness. There's no darkness for me when I realize and open my eyes and let myself see spiritually that God is in control and he is there. So God is there. He is there. When you're in the yarn shop and you're tempted to buy that very expensive yarn and hide it in your trunk from your husband, you just need to keep in mind that God is there and he is watching. Have a good day.